Hello, everybody. All right. Well, happy hump day to everybody, of course. Um, Hopefully, everybody's having a good week. Hope everybody enjoyed their Halloween last night, whether you were a kid trick or treating, getting lots of candy, or whether you were parents either passing out candy or going out with your kids trick or treating. Hopefully, everybody had a safe and sane Halloween. Um, so, anyways, so as we wait for more people to show up, I before we get into let's see. So happy November, everybody! As we are now getting into November, we're just under 3 weeks away from Thanksgiving, and then we're of course almost just about a month and a half away from Christmas. So things are really speeding up, aren't they? Uh, but now the pumpkins are going to be going from jack o' lanterns to pumpkin pies. Hmm. So, anyways, let's see. As we, of course, just waiting for more people to show up before we get started. Brand new month. So, uh, um, all right. So, anyways, let's see. Hong Kong Fooey, number one super guy. Hong Kong Fooey. Oh, we're looks like we're about 2.5 minutes in, so a little longer. Then I'll go over what's on tap for tonight. Um, let's see. So I was just watching RJ's stream before this, of course. We got Luke Stone and Joe Spicer on promoting their latest project, on Fun My Comics. You guys might want to go check that out. Let's see now. And now we're coming up on 3 minutes. So right now, so here's what's on tap for tonight. Of course, got a couple articles we're going to go over. One from Bounding into Comics, one from Bleeding Fool. So tonight we'll be going over. Let's see. First off, let me see. I know the Bounding into Comics one. I think is more of an anime. Yeah. So now we've of course been talking about this for the last week or so. It's been kind of going around a bit that of course Wendy Lee was brought back to the role of Yoichi Shinonen in Bleach for the Thousand Year Blood War arc. And initially, for the Thousand Year Blood War, they decided to cast Inari Kionis to the role, only to be some back. So so Bounding in the Comics is now put in an article. We're going to go over that. Hopefully, we'll get even a little more detail than that. But from what we had initially read, supposedly there was some kind of scheduling conflict. But according to some commentators, like Vera Dark in Yellow Flash, it was more like they tried to cast Inari for the quote unquote diversity's sake because of the fact, Yorichi's human form is a darker toned woman, so therefore they thought that they should cast a darker toned voice actress as opposed to Wendy Lee. But as we all know, that did not go over too well. And also, the other article we're going to go over from Bleeding Fool, we're going to look at, according to Chris Braley, how the failing comic industry is helping to promote Comicsgate. That seems to be an article he wrote. And then also on Also, of course, we'll have the wrestling wrap up a little later, talk a little bit about what's going on tonight's Dynamite, get caught up with some WWE news as they head to Saudi Arabia this weekend for Crown Jewel. And also, of course, this day needs history to wrap things up. So, with that, now that we've gone through all that, now would be a good time to probably start getting going. As always, guys, you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, seeing if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That would be appreciated. Also, if anything we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll do the best I can to answer those questions. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the articles here. Here we go with the first article of the night. All right, so here we go. All right, so Viz Media brings back Wendy Lee as Yoriichi for Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War. Now, mind you, this is her human form that she's doing. The cat form has been voiced by Terrence Stone. So this is the human form we're talking about, her human form, not the cat form, who was voiced by, let's see, claims quote-unquote misunderstanding over schedules led to recasting role with Inari Kionis. Article by Nerdgans Inc. published yesterday. So let's go ahead and get into this a bit. Of course, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer the question to the best of my ability. So with that, let's get into this. So in a surprising move, given the Western anime industry's current obsession with, in smaller quotes, authentic casting, on smaller quote, Viz Media has announced that they will be reversing course on their decision to cast voice actress Inari Kionis as the new voice of Yoriichi Shihonen in Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War, and will instead be giving the role back to the woman who provided her initial English language portrayal, Wendy Lee. Now, the thing is, Wendy Lee is considered an iconic figure in the English dub voice acting community. So, so basically replacing her in a role, would be not looked upon very highly. Anyways, fans first discovered that Viz Media had recast the Soul Society's resident ninja on October 7th, courtesy of Kionis. So it was on my 48th birthday that everybody saw that she was recast. Announcing her new role via her personal Twitter account, English language voice of My Hero Academia's Mirko Inari Kionis excitedly informed her followers, quote, "I'm the English voice of Yoriichi in Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War." However, fans were taken aback by this news, as not only had Viz thus far done their due diligence in bringing back as many cast members from their original Bleach dub as possible, but Lee had also expressed explicit interest in reprising the role. Now, mind you, one of the roles was, of course, recast due to the whole diversity argument, as Jameson Price had made the choice to step down as the voice of Chad because Chad was of Japanese Mexican heritage and felt that a Mexican American voice actor should have that role instead of him. So, um, speaking to the topic during an August interview with YouTuber Chris Mayek, Lee asserted, quote, I have not been a big part of it yet. I have a very small role as Memoli, who showed up early in the first few episodes. So I got to come in and do that. But I'm like, so when do we get to Yoriichi? That's the one I'm really waiting for, unquote. Again, and you see here in this one, um, all the roles she's done over the years. Again, one of probably considered one of the most iconic English dub voice actresses in the industry here. And you're going to probably replace one of the most popular and well-known and well-loved voice actresses with a newcomer because of diversity. Yeah, that's really gonna fly. That's really gonna fly. Following this discovery, upset fans took to social media to voice their frustrations with the decision. Predictably so. With many presuming, in light of any communication from Viz Media, that the recasting was based entirely on the races of the voice actresses involved. So basically, which probably was the case, it's like Anari being a darker toned woman, Yoriichi being a darker toned woman, the whole authentic casting, diversity casting bit, as Vera Dark from Dark Titan Enterprises put it, what happened to just the voice fitting the role no matter what the race was, right? Among the first to do so was Twitter user at Platinum Equinox, who shared an image of both Yoichi and Lee herself and lamented, quote, I'm quite saddened that Wendy Lee wasn't given the opportunity to make a return as Yoichi for Thousand Year Blood War dub. It is what it is, I guess, unquote. Yes, this did not go over well at all. Offering their read of the situation at Jaybird7620 retweeted at Platinum Equinox's initial tweet and asserted, quote, because they'd rather have a black woman play an Asian woman for an it's an not a for an anime show to be inclusive, unquote. Let's see. Quote, and that means a lady working hard for this character got fired for no reason. Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's another thing about it, especially when you have somebody who's been an established role for years. They do the role well. They're well liked. They've done nothing wrong that would warrant them getting fired, and yet because we have to cater to the diversity crowd, an inclusive crowd, then they get fired. Nobody's going to take too kindly to that kind of reasoning. He added, quote, westernization of things are silly, in smaller quotes, because she's a darker cartoon, she needs to be played by a dark person, unquote. Likewise, at Jason the Todds noted, quote, they think matching skin color to VA is what fans want or even care about. Truly a sad day in dub. Yeah, I'd have to kind of agree. I mean, I myself enjoy a lot of Wendy's work. Yeah, I mean, you have to think about it. She's been at this going all the way back to the '80s. I think she was even involved in the. I think she might have even been involved in the Harmony Gold dub, whatever you really think of it, of Robotech. Um, Robotech being, of course, the English name for the Maycross series. You know, she's been around for quite a while, lending her voice to a number of very interesting and iconic characters. I mean, there was a stretch throughout the '90s and 2000s where there was if there was an English dub of an anime that was done out of LA, you knew Wendy was going to be a part of it somewhere. You know, and she's even done some voice directing as well. So, um, yeah. So, quote: the voice actor doesn't need to be the same ethnicity as the character they're voicing. Unquote, argued at Yo Watch 3. Quote, the new dub is suffering because of this stupid mindset. Now, you can't put it all on Vince because in some cases, like as I mentioned earlier, in the case of Chad, right? Jameson Price voluntarily stepped down um, from the role in the name of inclusiveness, so a Hispanic actor or Mexican actor could play the role since Chad is Mexican Japanese. Now, you know that's his right to do so, but let me tell you something. I think Jameson still did for the character outside of the ethnicity. You know, Chad's kind of a bigger guy. You know, Jameson's got that thick voice that appeals to like bigger guys and also kind of the middle aged to older men, the 40, 50, 60 year old man as well, you know. um but it's like, you know hey Apex, good evening. I'm at work. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Hey, thanks for dropping in, my friend. um Thanks for dropping in. Hope you'll enjoy the show here. um you know um Anyways, getting back to the article. Now, I did realize, I think Wendy's like in her early 60s, and if that's how if the picture on the right there is how she's looking right now, she for somebody who's in her early 60s, she still looks very good. She looks very beautiful. Uh and while most fans were ready to accept that their feedback would be as usual dismissed, in a shocking turn of events, it was revealed that Viz Media had decided to reverse course on Yorichi's casting. Yeah, I mean, they got the pushback. And that's, I'm glad I went through this article. I know we've been talking about this already for the last week or so, off and on, but, it's good to get a little bit more detail here on some of the story as well. Just 2 weeks after initially announcing that she had received the role, Kionis informed her fans, quote, the, in brackets, dubbing studio, brackets, Studiopolis, and client, um, brackets, Viz Media, decided to go in a different direction. So I'm no longer voicing Yoichi in Bleach Thousand Year Blood War, and my recordings will be replaced, unquote. So they're gonna probably go back in the stuff she's already done. They're gonna probably redub with Wendy, which I think a lot of fans will appreciate that. Quote, it meant a lot to take on such an iconic bracket woman of color, unquote. She added, quote, I appreciate all the love. I'll still be voicing Hiyori, unquote. Now, mind you, though, here's the thing, too. Here's the thing. I don't really think that there is such a thing as race when you're dead, okay? I think ultimately most people are, white as ghosts anyways. So, I mean, I don't think in a soul society there really is such a thing as ethnicity. I don't think Tide Kubo really was thinking, oh, I'm going to make this character, a Pacific Islander. I'm going to make, and the thing was, it's not that, and Yoichi wasn't even really considered black. She's just a darker skinned Asian woman, probably from like the islands, probably someplace like Singapore or the Philippines or something like that. If she's from anywhere, or at least from anywhere in regards to that. But part of the reason why there was such a pushback is because it isn't just like replacing Joe Smith with Jane Smith or what have you. This was bringing somebody new to voice somebody who is a very well loved and respected voice actress, all for the sake of being cool or being diverse. They want to push the whole message. Well, we need it. We want to be cool, so we want to be inclusive. We want to be diverse. It's like that false sense of righteousness can be appalling to some people. In a follow-up tweet, Kionis further thanked, quote, at Viz Media and Studiopolis for letting me play, in brackets, her even just a little bit. Following Kionis' tweets, Studiopolis provided the first official statement on the entire situation to Anime News Network, which we kind of went over the other day a little bit. Quote, we would like to address the, in smaller quote, Yoichi Shihonen in Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War arc, episode 22, unquote, wrote the dubbing studio. Quote, it was always Studiopolis' intent to keep as many of the established cast members as possible from the original Bleach anime, unquote. Quote, there was a misunderstanding that, in smaller quote, Yoichi Shihonen was part of the list of the original cast members who were unavailable to participate in Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War, unquote. They explained, quote, in error, our casting coordinator offered Nairi Kionis the role. By the time this error came to our attention, it was too late to correct before episode 22 was released. We would like to take the opportunity to apologize once again and express how much we appreciate their talents and enjoy working with Nairi and Wendy, who will both continue to add their voice work to Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War, with Wendy as quote unquote as smaller quote Yoichi Shihonen, the human form, not the cat form. Cat form was done by Terrence Stone, and Nairi as Hiyori Saragaki. Now, I'm not sure if Hiyori is an original character. She is, but I think if Hiyori wasn't it before, I'm not sure. But anyways, now here's a theory that Yellow Flash, when he covered this story, posited, which I think a lot of people would happen to agree with, including myself. A lot of commentators probably agree with. So I think what they try to do is they try to pull this off under a cloak of darkness kind of thing. they kind of did this, you know, in the hopes that fans wouldn't notice. And the problem was fans noticed. When you're, again, trying to replace a very, very loved and popular voice actress, you know, when you're trying to replace an icon like that, you're going to get pushback. Especially when the reason is just so silly and stupid, and oh, we want the voice actors or actresses to match the skin tone of the character, whatever our interpretation of the race or ethnicity of that character happens to be. All right. There was never a problem with Wendy voicing her in the past, and there wouldn't be a problem now. You know, but they tried to get this by fans. Fans picked up on it, and after getting the backlash, they realized, okay, we better fix this before before we're skewed. Let's see if you guys are saying anything about this. No. Anyways. All right, and that's yeah, and that's kind of the end of that article. So now with that, I'm gonna head over to Bleeding Fool for an article from there. And that's not the Indie Comic Showcase. We will be covering that tomorrow, of course. But since the news cycle seems to be slowing down a bit, now I'll probably be starting to look for stuff from Bleeding Fool again. As now we'll probably be caught up most of the time with most of this stuff. Let's see. Day being November 1st. As of course now we're in the middle of the fall season in the anime releases. So everything is debuted. They're just in the midst of running the fall anime season over there in Japan, and a lot of that stuff is, of course, getting simulcast on like Crunchyroll and all that. So, all right. So this is going to be the one we're going to look at here. An article from Chris Bray. All right, Chris Braley, rather. I'm sorry. All right. So, why the failing American comic industry elevated Comicsgate? Article by Chris Braley, published earlier today. Ask me about my feminist agenda. Oh, yeah, we've been seeing that. All right, so here we go. Valerie D'Orazio, a former editor and writer at both Marvel and DC Comics, tweeted a detailed thread recently dealing with the fan movement known as Comicsgate and its relationship with the mainstream comic industry and media. D'Orazio contends that Comicsgate is portrayed as a convenient scapegoat for the failing comic book industry to avoid addressing internal problems plaguing the industry. Okay, well, that's kind of true. That's at least how they're relating to it. On her social media, she suggested that the idea of using Comicsgate as a means to cancel or discredit older established comic creators has become the go-to approach for them because the concept of meritocracy and competition in the industry is verboten. And then I guess this is a quote from Valerie here. All right, so here's from the article then. Quote, it's like if Comicsgate didn't exist, unquote, D'Orazio wrote, quote, the mainstream comics industry, media, would have had to invent them because CG was in stars here perfect scapegoat to use to hide from all their own sins. They never really publicly face their internal problems again. Mm-hmm. Like basically, writing stories that nobody wants to read, for example. That's one of their big problems. Another one is when they have some of their own creators basically telling customers, the very people they want to buy their book, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. And then when people, you know, when people take their advice, and they get on with their husband, or their boyfriend, or whatever, with on a radio show, and go, why aren't people buying my book? Anyways, let's see. And if they sacrificed the careers of a bunch of older established comic creators in the process, who cares, right? Only these older established comic book veterans are not going silently into the night. They're running back, coming out with great stories like Cyber Frog, like Thin Blue Line, like Alpha Core, like Great Cyclopean, like Melvin, like Canadian Shield, you know. Let's see. She continues, quote, and the funny thing is, about 17 years ago, both Rich Johnston and Heidi MacDonald went out of their way to use, in parentheses here, in stars there, use me as a quote unquote symbol of how a person is victimized in the comic book industry. They presented themselves as fearless truth tellers, but who are the truth tellers of the industry now? Not them, not really. In a tweet thread, D'Orazio, I guess there was a typo there, took Heidi MacDonald, editor-in-chief of The Beat, to task over her alleged support for women in comics, while demonstrating conflicting and confusing responses, particularly when women have concerns about Heidi's own friends in the comic book industry. Let's see. We, of course, got Ego Raven from Daphne Lage. We got works from like Mindy Wheeler. Let's see. Quote, Heidi MacDonald, fearless defender of feminism, scourge of misogyny, seems to have had a history of dismissing harassment accusations against her male friends and associates. I can back up in stars there 2 specific cases of her doing this. Parentheses, I have heard of more. One from painful personal experience, and one as it relates to accusations against Dean Haspiel, including a screenshot somebody sent me of her condescendingly dismissing a woman's claims. She can defend anyone she wants, protect anyone she wants, but then turning around and publicly trashing in stars there other people in the industry for this alleged misogynist behavior, unquote. Now, is that picture supposed to be Heidi MacDonald right there? Let's see if we. All right, so we got more people in here now. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying the content here. And if you guys can, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. Also, if anything here grabs your attention. Feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Also, if you like, subscribe, and then that way you can get notifications of when we're on. As we're on 6 nights a week, so Sunday through Friday. So with that, so she then turned her ire towards Bleeding Cool's editor-in-chief, Rich Johnson. Of course, not to be confused with our friends over at Bleeding Fool, with Chris and Avi there. Our wonderful sources there. Quote, as for Rich Johnston, a person people in double stars continually tried to tell me not to trust from day one, I'm going to be as charitable as I can here. The impression I got from him was that when you've done the comics journalism gossip stuff for as in stars long as he has, things get really in stars really complicated. There's a lot of quote unquote checkmate. I'm leaving it at that. What's this all about? That's supposed to be Rich right there. Diorazio. So is it Dorazio or DA? Because at the very beginning they were saying it was DA, but I think Chris has got some typos here. I guess O is DO, not DA. But so Diorazio suggests that canceling talented individuals could benefit those seeking job security or opportunities. And therefore, the utility of ComicsGate for SJWs, social justice warriors, seeking to brand and cancel individuals or win arguments, may simply be the strategy used to keep their jobs. Yeah, I mean, that might just be a way of KRAs, as it were. You know, getting down on your knees and puckering up, as it were, right? Despite mainstream comics claiming that ComicsGate is irrelevant and a dying consumer movement, yeah, right, yeah, that's a laugh. We know that to be false, don't we? We've seen a number of successful indie, not just indie comic projects succeeding, but also sites coming up to help those, like Fund My Comic. They are also quick to jump on it as a way to brand their detractors, easily get them labeled for cancellation, as DC Comics writer Tim Sheridan recently tried to do in order to boost sales for his gay erotica fan fiction disguised as a Golden Age Green Lantern comic earlier this month. Yes, and we went over this article too. Again, going back to that point, I mean, if your story is such a great story, then why you need to beg people to buy it? I mean, dude, you must think people are stupid or something like that. Shane Davis, a comic book artist with 20 years of experience, who is very public about his support for ComicsGate, reflects on his experience and understanding of the comic book industry and the role of whisper networks, especially those who use ComicsGate as a boogeyman to explain the failure of American comics industry. In this video, he ponders the impact of ComicsGate on the industry at large and asks if ComicsGate is really a threat to mainstream comics. Does the mainstream just need a common enemy to point to in order to keep their jobs. Well, they do say competition is good for business overall. It keeps everybody on their toes, right? Some of this fallout may have encouraged former DC creator Sean Gordon Murphy to admit that Conjugate is a response to the social justice cancer that has infected the mainstream comics industry. Hmm. Let's see. How do you think Conjugate movement has impacted the American? Oh, they got the mainstream comic scene running scared. I'm pretty sure of that because a lot of these veteran comic book creators, people like Ethan Van Sciver, like Shane Douglas, like Dave L. Tabe, like Mike Barron, like Chuck Dixon. A lot of these guys are finding success outside of the mainstream, and while the mainstream is drowning in their own stupidity. That is very evident. Um, I think we've all been seeing it for the last 2 or 3 years, right? So with that, that's all the articles we have tonight. We got through them, pretty lengthy there. So now we're gonna start talk about what's going on and do our wrestling wrap up here. Um, so let's see. So first up on of course on the WWE side of things, it looks one of the top stories that came out today was it looks like Roman Reigns after his title defense at this weekend's Crown Jewel will probably be taking the rest of the year off. There's been some speculation, a possibility that they might take the title off of him at this point, either putting it on LA Knight or maybe having Damian Priest come out to after the match, whoever wins, having Damian Priest come out to to take the title off of him. There's some speculation that Rock may be showing up to cost Roman the title to set up a potential match for SummerSlam between the two over who the real tribal chief is. But again, that's all still speculation. Now, granted, because of the part-time schedule that he's allowed, much like Brock Lesnar had when he was champion, the last couple times, Roman Reigns just may be deciding, and which people are wondering, considering that will mean that for the second year in a row, if he is taking the rest of the year off and he's still champion, that'll probably be the second year in a row in which the WWE and Universal titles will not be defended at Survivor Series later in the month here. He was involved in the pay-per-view last year, but he did not defend the title. He was involved in a War Games match, I believe. Let's see now. What else? AJ Styles looks like he may be returning soon from a kayfabe injury. He may be coming back. Of course, as we mentioned yesterday, Bianca Belair made her recent return on SmackDown last week. She, I think, will be challenging Io Sky for the WWE Women's Championship at Crown Jewel. So that's as much about at least a lot of the main WWE news. Moving on to AEW. So apparently not everybody is per se glad that CM Punk has gone from AEW, as Eddie Kingston recently said that he misses it, that even though he may not personally like CM Punk, he still respects what the man can do for the business, for the company. In fact, he pointed out that he doesn't necessarily have to like somebody to work with him. In fact, some cases, particularly in the world of professional wrestling, that may even be better. Because and I can see his logic there, because I mean, if you're going into a match with somebody that in reality you don't really like, yeah, you're gonna make those hits a lot stiffer. You're gonna make it look more real than it probably is, and that's gonna really excite the fans a lot more. Now, of course, in other AEW news tonight, of course, is Impact. As of course, we're still marching our way towards Full Gear coming up on the 18th, in which, of course, MJF will be wrestling twice that night. In the main event, he'll be defending the AEW world title against Switchblade Jay White of Bullet Club Gold, and then on the pre-show, he'll be defending the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions with a supposed mystery partner against the Guns, Austin and Colton Gunn. Also, Karu Shida will be defending the AEW Women's World Title against Toni Storm, and also announced for Full Gear thus far as a 6-man tag in which TNT champion Christian Cage will be teaming up with Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne take on Sting, Darby Allin, and a mystery partner. Now for tonight's Dynamite, slated for tonight's Dynamite, of course, Orange Cassidy defends the AEW International title against Claudio Castagnoli, who will have Wheeler Yuta in his corner. This, of course, is stemming from what happened at last week Dynamite, in which Cassidy had teamed with Chaos faction mate Kazuchika Okada to take on the Blackpool Combat Club of Claudio and Bryan Danielson, in which Danielson, after taking an orange punch and Rainmaker lariat, had his orbital bone broken and will be out at least for what some people are reporting for the remainder of the year. So, also the Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team titles will be defended tonight as the Elite of Adam Page and the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, will be taking on former champs of Mogul Embassy of Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony of Bishop Khan and Toa Leona. Of course, the Mogul Embassy here is looking to regain the titles from the Elite, while the Elite will look to hold on to the titles. Swerve Strickland, will probably be skulking around somewhere looking to interfere in this match, as he and Adam Page have a thing going as well. Also, as previously announced, 2 former members of the JAS, Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, with Jake Hager in their corner, will be taking on the team calling themselves the Golden Jets of Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. The 2 Canadians look to answer the challenge of Jericho's former faction mates here. Let's see. It's also been slated that Hikaru Shida again proving to be a fighting champion, coming off a title defense at Collision against Abaddon, as well as one against Sky Blue last week, defends the AEW Women's World title against Willow Nightingale, as she, of course, is also preparing for title defense against Toni Storm at Full Gear. And in an 8-man tag match, the 4 members of Bullet Club Gold Jay White, Juice Robinson, and the Gun Club will be taking on MJF and 3 partners of his own. If MJF and his team win this match, then Jay White will have to give back after having stolen the AEW World Championship belt from MJF, he will have to give it back to MJF. So that's all we have for the wrestling wrap up there. Let me see now. I see Kim is here. Let's see what's your favorite Udi? I don't have one. I don't even know what that is. Sorry, typo. What is Infinite Stratos? I believe it was an anime. I think it was a Space Odyssey anime, maybe. I have seen it before. It's just been a long time since I've watched it, so I don't know it off the top of my head. And then, what do you remember from 1985? Not much. I mean, 85, I was like 9 going on 10. I turned 10 in October that year. So in 1985, I was probably watching, like, cartoon-wise, I was probably like watching the G1 Transformers cartoon. I remember one particular lineup was Challenge of the GoBots, He-Man, She-Ra, Transformers, and G.I. Joe. Basically, and back then I didn't even know about anime at that point. I think I did watch anime, but I didn't know it was anime at the time. I thought it was cartoons. Of course, Battle of the Planets was still in syndication back then. Speed Racer, I think, was in syndication back then as well. So anyways, let's see. Let's see. You really went off, didn't you, there, Count the T? Oh, wait. Okay, let's see. How do you pronounce cookiest and hoodies? That's how you pronounce it. Mookies and Jukies. Let's see. Is Snores better or Smurfs better? If you're talking about Snorks, I think it's Snorks, not Snores. You're talking about the underwater creatures with the blowholes at the top of their head. Those are Snorks. Smurf is definitely longer. I like both cartoons. Smurfs. I also liked, of course, the animation in Smurfs. So, but both cartoons were pretty good. So Smurfs just was more successful. Let's see. What do you remember about 1999? 1999, I was already 23 going on 24. Again, don't remember much off the top of my head, quite honestly. Will you have your old intro, Mike, from... I don't think I ever did that. Or I may have done that once in a while. I don't think I ever really did that, Kim. I may have done that once or twice, but what's your favorite soda? Pepsi. All right. So with all that being said, we've already gone through, of course, the wrestling wrap up. So why don't we go ahead and get ready to wrap things up here? Today is November 1st, 2023. So let's take a look back at this day in Niche history. History! Alrighty then. So, with all that being said, let's take a look back at this day in Niche history. So, first off, I would actually like to wish Billy Gunn a happy 60th birthday today. So, professional wrestler, current AEW World Six-Man Tag Champion, multiple multiple WWE tag team champion Billy Gunn turned 60 today. So happy 60th birthday to Billy Gunn. Real name Monty Kip Sop. So happy 60th birthday to Billy Gunn. So with that, moving on. Now we're going to go back 20 years ago today, back to 2003. As on this date in 2003, the 15th issue of Bionicles from DC Comics went on sale on this date back in 2003. So back on this date in 2003, the 15th issue of Bionicles from DC Comics went on sale, as the story was Secrets and Shadows. From what I read, these were released as part of the Legos magazine, the insert there. So, anyways, so with that, so yeah, the 15th issue of Bionicles went on sale on this date 20 years ago. Secret and Shadows is the name of the story, written by Gregory Farshley. Randy Elliott did the art. Raymond Chrising did the inks. Lettering done by Kenny Lopez and coloring by Peter Pantazis. So on this date, 20 years ago, Bionicle number 15 from DC Comics went on sale. Now moving on. Now 2003 is just so nice that we're gonna hit it twice. There's also on this date in 2003. A few things happened on this date back in 2003. First off, of course, Brother Bear was released in the U.S. premiere of Brother Bear from the Walt Disney Company happened on this date 20 years ago. Also on this date 20 years ago, Shaolin Showdown, Kenny Shark, and Tootenstein all premiered on this date back in 2003. Shaolin Showdown on Kids WB, Kenny the Shark, and Tootenstein on Discovery Kids. So on this date back in 2003, Shaolin Showdown, Kenny the Shark, and Tootenstein all premiered, as well as was the U.S. premiere of Walt Disney Company's Brother Bear. So, with that, getting ready to move on to the fun. And 2003 was nice twice. Well, it's thrice nice as well. 2003 is thrice nice. And also on this date back in 2003, Group TAC's anime Twin Speaker premiered on Japanese television on this date back in 2003, 20 years ago today. Group TAC's Twice Spica, Twin Speaker premiered on this date back in 2003. It was a seinen manga series, seinen anime. So Twin Speaker premiered on this date on Japanese television 20 years ago today. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here, of course, tomorrow. Well, before I go here, let's see, because I think Cam had a couple more things to say here. What does whimsical mean, and how do you use it in a sentence? Whimsical means clever, I think. Like he whimsically deduced the hero's identity. And let's see. 10-year anniversary of Freebirds. All right. Well, I've heard of the song Freebird from Leonard Skinner. I also know the tag team duo, at times trio of. I know of course, the late Terry Gordy, the late Buddy Roberts, and Michael P.S. Hayes and Jimmy Garvin is combinations of the Freebirds before the wrestling stable. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here tomorrow, where we will, of course, be going over the Indie Comic Showcase and Bleeding Fool, rather. Also, of course, Friday, R.J. Carter will be joining me as we will be looking back through comic history. We'll be looking back to comics going on sale in December 1939. This time from Novelty Press, we'll be looking at Target Comics #1, introducing you guys to that comic, some of the heroes from it as well. And with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.